Welcome back to part two of the Albany High School Library Summer Reading List. My screen casting recorder only allows 10 minutes at a clip, so here's the next 10 minutes. Here we go. Let's figure out where we stopped off. Okay, next up is the District 13 series from Saddleback called A Second Shot. This is a tremendous basketball story about a kid named Wallace who is so sick of being bullied. He's had it. He was not going to give up on basketball, not for bullies, not for anyone. He messed up at his old school. This was his last shot. He just have to watch his back. Feel strongly about that. District 13. Next one up is called We Should Hang Out Sometime. This is a new title, and this is an embarrassingly true story by Josh Sundquist. It's an autobiography from Josh Sundquist, who was a Paralympic ski racer. He was an amputee. He is an amputee cancer survivor, and he's really only had one girlfriend for 23 hours in the 8th grade. So why was Josh still single? To find out, he tracked down the girls he had tried to date and asked them straight up, "What did I do wrong?" He interviews former love interests, and it's hysterical. If you really like that awkward, embarrassing, oh my God, romantic type of book, this is for you. We Should Hang Out Sometime by Josh Sundquist. The next title is by Co Booth, one of my favorite authors out of New York City. You can basically choose anything that she writes, but I'm going to talk about Tyrell. We have about 5 of her titles in the library. This is a book about homelessness. 15-year-old Tyrell is living in the Bronx in a homeless shelter with his spaced out mother and his younger brother. He's really trying to avoid temptation and some of the street so that he doesn't end up in jail like his father. Find out if Tyrell makes it. Co Booth's Tyrell. Along the same theme of homelessness, here's a title by Todd Strasser called Can't Get There From Here. You can also read anything by Todd Strasser. We have at least 6 titles in the library that he's written. Tired of being hungry, cold, and dirty, living on the streets in New York City with a tribe of other homeless teenagers who are dying one by one, a girl named Maybe ponders her future and longs for someone to care about her. Find out if Maybe gets off the streets and Can't Get There From Here by Todd Strasser. Next up is What My Mother Doesn't Know by Sonia Sones. Girls, guys, if you like romance, this is for you. This is all about a teenage girl named Sophie. It's a heart-stoppingly riveting story of her first love and her second love and her third love. Is she boy crazy? Maybe. I'd say so. She's almost 15, and she says that her mind, her body, and her heart just don't seem to be able to agree on anything. And she's keeping a few secrets from her mother as well. Find out what happens with Sophie, What My Mother Doesn't Know by Sonia Sones. The next title is Tears of a Tiger. This is a trilogy called the Hazelwood High Trilogy by Sharon Draper. Sharon Draper writes prolifically. You'll love her. This is about the death of high school basketball star Rob Washington in an automobile accident. It's how this loss affects the lives of his close friends, specifically his friend Andy, who was driving the car that he died in the accident. Find out what happens in this Hazelwood trilogy, Tears of a Tiger. And if you're interested in the other 2, if you've read Tears of a Tiger, you can also read the second and the third in this trilogy. Our next title is Claudette Colvin, Twice Toward Justice. As you look at the cover, you can see it's covered in book awards. On the left, it's a young adult nonfiction finalist for YALSA. It's a Newbery Honor Award book. It's a Robert Siebert Award book. And it's the National Book Award winner. Why is it called Twice Toward Justice? Well, Claudette Colvin, about 9 months prior to Rosa Parks, refused to move her seat on a bus in the South. She was actually the original person that said, I've had enough with the segregation. So Claudette Colvin did this prior to Rosa Parks, and Martin Luther King said, this young lady is on to something, so we're going to do this formally. Rosa Parks was the second person to do it. It's all about the civil rights era in the 60s in the South, and features a lot of the civil rights activists together with Claudette Colvin, Twice Toward Justice. The next title is a graphic novel, which, as you know, looks like comic books. And this features J. Edgar Hoover, who was the very famous FBI director in the first part of the 20th century. He was involved in a lot of different events. He was very famous for being very hard during the Prohibition, and he also collared many very famous criminals from Al Capone to a few others. This is a great quick read graphic novel biography, J. Edgar Hoover. And last but not least, The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. Really, you probably know this series, the trilogy. Almost all books have been published. All books have been published, and the movies are out as well. The Hunger Games features 16-year-old Katniss Everdeen. This takes place in a futuristic society where there is no America. It's just a group of districts in Pan Am. Katniss comes from District 13, and she becomes an unwitting contender in the annual Hunger Games, which is a fight to the death competition hosted by the Capitol, and it's televised. Find out if Katniss makes it, does she, in the Hunger Games. If you've already read the Hunger Games, feel free to try Catching Fire or Mockingjay as well. That wraps up the list for the 9th grade summer reading at Albany High School. If you have any questions, feel free to stop by our website or visit us on Twitter for all information about this assignment. Can't wait to meet you at Albany High in the fall. Signing off, Mrs. Mikett, Albany High School librarian. Thanks for listening.